The phone buzzed in David's pocket as he set down his coffee. He almost ignored it, just another unknown number. But something told him to answer. "Hello?" he said, barely paying attention. A hesitant voice on the other end spoke. "Is this David Carter?" "Yes, who's this?" There was a pause. Then the voice continued, filled with emotion. "You don't know me, but I'm calling on behalf of someone you helped months ago. Her name is Emily." David sat up straighter. Emily, the homeless girl. The one he had met on that freezing night. The one he had bought shoes for, hoping, praying, it would make a small difference. "She wanted me to tell you something," the caller said. "What you did, it changed her life." David's heart pounded. He gripped the phone tighter, his mind racing back to that night, the moment he'd made a decision without thinking, a simple act of kindness that now, somehow, had come full circle. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The next words left him speechless, and that's where this story truly begins. The wind howled through the city streets, biting at David's skin even through his thick coat. The sidewalks were packed with holiday shoppers, their arms full of bags, their faces flushed with excitement. But as David turned a corner near the shopping district, the festive glow faded into something much colder. A girl sat curled against a brick wall, arms wrapped around her frail body. She couldn't have been more than 13. Her thin sweater was no match for the brutal winter air, but what stood out most were her shoes, or what was left of them. The fabric was torn, the soles barely attached, her toes peeking through the holes. People passed without a glance, their eyes carefully avoiding her. David hesitated. He wasn't a wealthy man, he wasn't a hero, but something about her hollow eyes, the way she hugged her knees as if trying to disappear, made him stop. He knelt beside her. "Hey," he said gently. She flinched but didn't move away. "Let me help," she shook her head. "I'm fine." But her voice wavered. David glanced at the department store nearby, then back at her feet. "Come with me," he said. The girl hesitated, eyeing David with suspicion. Strangers didn't just stop to help, not in this city. But the wind howled, and her feet ached from the cold. Slowly, she rose and followed him inside the department store. Warmth hit her like a wave, making her shiver as her body adjusted. Around them, people bustled about, laughing, shopping, living lives she could only dream of. She shrank back, suddenly feeling out of place. David led her to the shoe section. Rows of clean, sturdy boots lined the shelves, warm, durable, everything she needed. "Pick any pair," he said. She stared at him, unsure. "Any?" He nodded. Cautiously, she reached for a black pair with fur lining. Slipping them on, she wiggled her toes inside, feeling warmth for the first time in weeks. Her lips parted slightly, not quite a smile, but close. David took the boots to the register, paying without hesitation. Before they left, he also bought her thick socks and a cup of hot cocoa from a nearby cafe. As he handed them to her, she met his eyes. "My name is Emily," she whispered. David smiled. "Take care, Emily." And then he walked away. David tried to push the memory of Emily from his mind, but he couldn't. Her face, her hesitation, the way she had clutched the warm cup of cocoa as if it were a lifeline, it all lingered. He told himself he had done what he could. A pair of boots and a hot drink wouldn't change the world. Yet every time he passed that corner, his eyes searched for her. She was never there. Had she found safety, a shelter, or had she simply disappeared, swallowed by the same streets that had nearly broken her? The thought haunted him. One night, as snow fell gently over the city, he stopped outside the same store where he had bought her shoes. A woman stood nearby, ringing a bell for donations. David reached into his pocket, dropping in a few bills. "You looking for someone?" she asked, noticing his lingering gaze. He hesitated, then nodded. "A young girl, thin, dark hair. I helped her a while back." The woman's expression softened. "A lot of kids come and go, but kindness like that, it doesn't go unnoticed." David walked away, heart heavy. He had done his part, but had it been enough? 3 months passed. The bitter chill of winter had given way to the first signs of spring, but David couldn't shake the feeling that Emily was still somewhere out there. He kept his eyes open every time he walked through the city, searching for a familiar face among the crowds. Yet every time he thought he might spot her, it was always someone else. Then, one rainy afternoon, as he stood waiting for his bus, he saw her. Across the street, under the overhang of a small shelter, stood Emily, no longer the fragile girl he had met months ago. She was dressed in a thick coat, her face brighter, healthier. She was talking to an older woman who looked like she might be a counselor or social worker. David's heart skipped a beat. He wanted to cross the street, to approach her, to say something, but something held him back. She wasn't alone. She wasn't the scared, cold girl from before. She had found support, and more than that, she seemed to be thriving. Emily caught sight of him, their eyes locking for a moment. She smiled softly, as if she recognized him, but didn't move. David gave a small nod before turning away, a quiet sense of relief settling in his chest. She was going to be okay. Weeks passed without any sign of Emily, and David began to feel that strange sense of closure. He thought about her often, but told himself that helping her had been the right thing. His life went on, the same daily routine, the same work, the same distractions. He had moved on, or so he thought. Then one evening, as he sat down to a quiet dinner at home, his phone buzzed. It was an unfamiliar number. David almost let it go to voicemail, but for some reason, he answered. "Hello? Mr. David Carter?" A voice on the other end sounded polite but nervous. "Yes, speaking. This is Claire from Hope Haven Shelter. I'm calling about a young woman named Emily. I believe you might have helped her a while back." David's heart skipped. "Emily? Yes, I remember her. Is she all right?" "She's doing great," Claire said. "She asked if we could reach out to you. She wanted to thank you. What you did for her, it changed everything." David sat back, stunned. "I didn't think I did that much." "You did more than you realize. She's stable now, going to school, and she's found a community. She's even started volunteering here." David was speechless. His small act of kindness had planted a seed he never imagined would grow this much. A few days later, David came home to find an envelope waiting for him on his doorstep. It was plain, unmarked, except for his name written in neat, familiar handwriting. His heart raced as he picked it up, instantly recognizing the writing. Emily. He tore it open with trembling hands, unfolding the letter inside. "Dear Mr. Carter," the letter began, "I don't know where to start, but I have to tell you what you've done for me. When I met you, I was lost, hopeless, and alone. I didn't believe anyone could see me, let alone care about me. You gave me shoes that day, but you gave me something much bigger than that, dignity, a chance. I've been in and out of shelters, foster homes, and tough situations, but after you helped me, something changed inside me. I knew I deserved better. I knew I could be better. Thanks to you, I found a place at Hope Haven, and now I'm in school. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm getting there. I don't know how to repay you for what you've done, but I want you to know that I won't forget. You saved my life. Thank you, Emily." David read the letter again, his eyes blurred with emotion. The letter sat on David's desk for days, its words echoing in his mind. It was a simple gesture, a pair of shoes, a cup of cocoa, but Emily's letter made him realize just how profound that small act of kindness had been. He had never expected anything in return. After all, he hadn't done it for praise or recognition, but the impact on her life was something he couldn't ignore. A few weeks later, David received another unexpected call from Claire at Hope Haven Shelter. "Mr. Carter, Emily wanted me to reach out again," Claire said, her voice warm. "She's been doing wonderfully, and she has a request. She'd love for you to come by the shelter if you're open to it. She's preparing something special." David agreed without hesitation, his heart swelling with curiosity and anticipation. When he arrived at Hope Haven, Emily was waiting for him. She looked different, more confident, her eyes brighter. She smiled widely when she saw him. "Thank you for believing in me," she said, her voice filled with gratitude. "I know I'm not where I want to be yet, but this is a start, and I couldn't have done it without you." Emily had changed, but David realized so had he. He'd learned that even the smallest acts of kindness could create ripples that lasted a lifetime. Months later, David sat in the small, bustling cafe near Hope Haven, waiting for Emily. He had been invited to her graduation ceremony, a moment he could hardly believe was happening. When he first met her, she was a lost girl with nothing but cold streets ahead. Now, she was standing tall, wearing a cap and gown, ready to start the next chapter of her life. As the ceremony ended, Emily found David in the crowd, her eyes scanning until they locked onto his. She beamed, her face radiating pride. "You came!" she exclaimed, rushing over to him. "Of course I did," David said with a warm smile, standing to greet her. "I wouldn't miss this for the world." Emily took a deep breath. "You know, I don't think I ever really thanked you properly. You didn't just buy me shoes that day. You gave me hope. You saw me when no one else did, and that's why I'm here now." David looked at her, overwhelmed by the transformation before him. "I didn't do much. You did the work. You made the choice to change. I couldn't have done it without you," she replied, her eyes filled with gratitude. In that moment, David realized how far both of them had come. A simple act of kindness had sparked an unbreakable bond, one that neither of them would ever forget. If this story touched your heart, imagine the power you have to make a difference in someone's life. A simple act of kindness, no matter how small, can change the course of someone's future. If you believe in the power of helping others, share this story with someone who needs to hear it today. Also, don't forget to leave a comment below. Tell us about a time you made a difference in someone's life or when someone else's kindness impacted you. Let's keep the conversation going and inspire others to spread compassion. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Join our community of people who believe in making the world a better place, one small act of kindness at a time. Your support helps us bring more inspiring stories like this to life, so we can all share in the power of love, hope, and redemption. Remember, it only takes one person to start a ripple effect. Will you be that person?